Hello and welcome to the show. For today's Hot Wheels Showdown, we have got the Renault 5 Turbo. The very small, very light, hopefully potentially quite powerful, get decent sized tyres on this car. I think it is going to be a strong contender. That is, if it isn't too horribly twitchy. You see, the downside of when you make a very short wheelbase with a mid-engine car such as this, it can be quite difficult to drive. The Metro 6L4 is notoriously twitchy. Less so on Horizon 3, of course, than on sort of motorsport games. In general, the handling is more forgiving, but yeah, there is potential for small issues. Now, we have plenty of PI to play around with to begin with. We are going to jump the car onto race tyres, which will put us all the way up towards the top of B-Class. 245s on the front of the vehicle. We should be getting, if I remember rightly, yeah, 295s on the rear, which is, for a car of this size, that's pretty damn good going. So I am happy to be running with them. Now, there is a whole bunch of proper rally bumpers and so on, which is kind of a shame that I can't use them, because I need the Forza Aero. I need the Forza parts, the race parts, because I want the downforce from them. As I said, yeah, I'd like to be able to run the proper bits, but we need the additional downforce for, well, grip through the turns. I don't know if there's any point in adding these. Oh, we can add the all-important drag-reducing mud flaps. The slightly heavier but drag-reducing mud flaps. I'm sure I'm going to bother with them. Oh, we can get rally lights, though, on the car, can't we? We can get a full assortment of rally lights if we want. Can we get... Ah, we can, good. We can get these ones that are kind of melded into the front of the bonnet, yes. At least we will have some rally lights on our Renault. I don't know, what engines do we have as an option going in here? We can have the Turbo Rally, or ooh, we can have the V8 Racing engine. That's quite an interesting prospect. We're not going to put that in yet, of course. There are other much more important parts for now. So, brakes and, of course, suspension. We will get a full accompaniment of anti-roll bars. As we've seen time and time again in this series, handling is so very, very important indeed. While, yes, the roll cage is going to add us a little bit of weight, stiffening the chassis will make us quicker through the turns. Weight reduction, we've only got one stage of weight reduction. It's only 7 PI. I'm going to go for it. Car down to £2,000. We will go and grab a gearbox, so we have adjustable gear ratios. We will grab a diff as well while we are here. Then it'll be throw on engine parts and see if the standard engine can get us to the top of S1 class. If it can't, well, we have an option. We have an option that we can go to. We can use the V8 Racing engine. Standard engine looks like it's going to get an okay amount of power out of it. I don't know how much power the Renault 5, the Group B car, was putting out. It's certainly one of the very early Group B cars, and, well, being rear-wheel drive, it only ever really worked on the tarmac. So, yeah, it certainly wasn't the fastest of them. But power-wise, probably not that dissimilar to what we've got going on here. That being said, we are already halfway through the PI, so that's not gonna cut it from the Renault. We are going to have the Renault 5 V8. This is an interesting / terrifying prospect. God damn, this is going to be a powerful car by the time we're done with it. 622 horsepower. Now, I've got all the turbo. The actual rest of the engine bits, there isn't much to it. There isn't much to this engine that can be upgraded. And my slight concern, the fact that the PI is going so high with this car, with what is a big power to weight ratio. I mean, the engine parts are adding really not very much in terms of PI. That scares me in terms of handling. I wouldn't have expected this car to be a problem. Never have expected this car to be a problem when it comes to the handling. But apparently we can get a big old power to weight ratio, which must mean it's lacking in some department somewhere around here. Looks pretty good on the old stats, although Forza stats are to be taken with a pinch of salt at all times. I wonder if, I mean, the launch, 3.7 seconds to 60 isn't the fastest that we've ever seen, but that's also still, you know, still bloody quick. It doesn't have much torque, that is true, but otherwise, I think this might, if it's controllable enough, if it has the grip enough, this could well challenge the BMW. So, our first French car has been brought to the skyscraper takeoff circuit. It is going to have 5 laps to try and go faster than a 1:33.7. That is the current benchmark from the BMW M3. Will the Renault be able to beat that? It's going to come down to, well, the two all-important things. Does it first of all have the grip through the turns, which I'm not so sure about judging by the wiggles we've had off the line? And does it have enough straight line speed? Oh god, now handling is, I think, the slight bit more important around here. Car needs to be able to carry very, very good quarter speed, more than it needs ultimate top end speed. But if you are really struggling around the end loop, you can lose an awful lot of time. This car is currently not to my liking, shall we say. Now, it may well get better as the tyres warm up, as I get slightly more used to it. I am not sure I've got the confidence in the rear end of our Renault to really be throwing the vehicle around. What is its acceleration going to be like? Looks fairly similar to the Mercedes 190e in terms of speed there. You might expect a little bit more from this car with such a huge amount of power and very little in the way of weight. I would hope for potentially a little bit more speed out of the Renault. The problem is I'm so busy fighting the rear end of the car almost constantly that is, yeah, less than ideal. That's not good. We're about to have a really big crash. Oh, we're going to go up the loop backwards. That would be a first in this series. Yeah, this isn't a good place to have found myself. Let's go and spin the vehicle around. Oh, bugger. Come on, car. There we go. And, well, it's going to be a little bit of an awkward climb, getting this thing going again. Oh, that's not particularly fun when we suddenly hit the boost pad. It kind of just carts the car around, and you've got to hope that you can get it pointing in the right direction. This might be more a matter of, well, pure survival than anything else. Right, we will slow it all down for the final corner. Let's hope a little bit of controlled driving from me, a little bit of composure from the car, and we can hopefully get it around here in a relatively good time. I don't think I've got enough enough rear end grip in this car to ever really be comfortable with it. That's very oversteery through turn 1. Now, the Mercedes didn't feel particularly great to drive, I will be honest, in that vehicle, but this is even less. A Mercedes didn't feel particularly fast, but didn't have any massive problems. This just feels unsafe. Quite frankly, that is the best way to describe it. I'm kind of okay leaving it in a higher gear. We might have a bit of turbo lag and so on with this V8, twin-turbo V8 racing engine. But quite frankly, we're having so many control issues, I don't think I want to fight the wheel spin. I think if I try to fight the wheel spin, it's just too much of you're going to lose too much time sliding the car around in some of these corners and risk getting it twitchy. If we can just get a couple of clean laps under our belt, that would be a good start. I mean, all of this is for nothing if we can't get the jump done cleanly. Again, it's just braking sideways. And this is through the bank turns as well. 1,000 horsepower Gremlin was okay over there. But the Renault 5 is having issues. Okay, what do we do off of the launch pad? 206 miles an hour is pretty good going as we head up around the loop. What will be our top speed in this car? Can we get 220 miles an hour? No, only 212, so not amazing straight line speed. Admittedly, not the most amazing aerodynamical shape, a 37.1 from our first flying lap. Definitely more time to be found. From the benchmark, when I was just quickly changing the gear ratios, it says it will do 205 miles an hour and 205 only. I think this car is quite limited, kind of aero limited an awful lot. So we might struggle with straight line speed, and we are struggling big time with grip. I had hoped this might challenge the BMW. I am beginning to think that is going to be a bit of a tall order. That's why. You just can't take the speed through the corners. You turn in and the back end comes around. Now, we were doing, what, 140 miles an hour through there in the Mercedes. I think that was about 130. I might be wrong because I can't look at the speedo constantly and concentrate on driving. I think that might be about 135 I got that down to. If not, it was around the 140 mark and we turned in and the back end has just let go. That lack of rear end stability is going to be a real problem for this Renault. It's not a problem that we've come across even in a 1,000 horsepower Gremlin. Yeah, the Gremlin had a little bit bigger tyres than this car, but it had a lot more power. It might be fractionally heavier than the Renault, but yeah, overall, the Gremlin with its, I guess, slightly better engine position, slightly better weight distribution and so on for this kind of thing, worked a lot better. This is just not a pleasant experience. Now, I might be able to drag a lap out of this car. If we can get everything clean, if we can get everything neat and tidy, might be able to drag a half-decent lap out of the car. But it is not going to be a particularly fun one as we see it again. It's sliding on the way into turn one, which has not had this level of oversteer from cars on race tyres at a track that is predominantly medium and high-speed corners. Yet the final couple of corners in turn 1 and 2 are a little bit slower, but this is a predominantly high-speed circuit, which is why grip is so important, being able to maintain that corner speed, and this car just can't do it. I just have no... There is no confidence in this vehicle whatsoever to be able to carry any sort of corner speeds. 130 miles an hour. Really, yeah, it's about 10 miles an hour down on the Mercedes there. And even that wasn't particularly comfortable. Even that was a big wiggle from the Renault here. Third gear's not nice out of that turn. Such a savage car. I mean, it's entertaining to drive. It's certainly one that you have to be very much awake for. You have to be full concentration mode in the Renault 5 if you are going to survive. This is not just about getting a fast lap out of the car. If you want to survive a lap, it has got to be full concentration mode when you have 700 horsepower going through the rear wheels of such a twitchy vehicle. I mean, I wondered why the PI was, or why it was going to get so much power in the PI. This is the reason why. We're off again into the scenery. That gives us one lap. I've got one lap. And I need it to be a clean one. I need to not... I mean, the twisting across the jump, I think I might have hit the cone. Now, the better handling cars, the Eclipses and so on of this world, they got away with that, no problem. The Renault 5 can't. So, we are going to... I mean, we can't even play it... I say you can't play it risky. We can't even try and get... We're aiming for the middle and right-hand side launch pads to land our car with wheels on either side of it. Now... To do that, you have to aim your car for the takeoff, and I cannot do that in the Renault without running the risk of hitting the cones and the risk of having the car go on its side slightly. The Renault doesn't have the composure to get away with that and to land it neatly, so we are not going to take that. I'm just going to have to go dead centre and hope that we can get a clean run. Now, I am not keen on going back to third through here. I might try it a little bit, yeah, I might try it there. Just once I've kind of got it around, it's always kind of coast into the corner and then downshift to get it out again. Because if I do it beforehand, I risk kind of overloading everything, and that would upset the car. 168 miles an hour, I mean, there is the acceleration there. It's the really annoying thing. Statistically speaking, this car has a lot of potential. It's just let down by that lack any rear-end grip at all, to be honest. Right. Final time towards this boost pad jump. Position the car as best I can in the middle, away from the cones. It is good this time around. Off the boost pads we go. Just 205 miles an hour is not too bad. Off just, well, solely the middle pad there, around the loop. Down to 188 miles an hour, actually maintaining speed quite well up that section. Then we hit, I think, the aero limiting at about 212 miles an hour as we run down the hill. Into the final corner we go. Big slide from the Renault. It's across the line. Told you I might be able to drag a time out of the car. I did on that final lap, a 134.2 in what is by far and away the hardest difficult to drive car I've had in this series. That is such an oversteery car. Your entire time of driving this is fighting. All the back end wants to do is slide about, but with a little bit of care, with a bit of, a bit of patience, messing around with gears in slight places to make sure that the car remains stable, I think did the trick. We found a little bit more acceleration out of the corners. That's where the speed is coming in this car. Its top speed is pretty good. Its speed around the loop is actually very good. It hits aero limiting, but its actual speed around the loop is only a couple of miles an hour down on a few of the vehicles, a few of the quicker cars that have gone, so that's not too bad. It's not quite up there with the very fastest, but yeah, it's making up its time acceleration, I think, in between the corners, more than top speed, but that is when you've got control of it. I mean, we had, what, 2, 3 big crashes, spins, lots of fighting the car. But through all of that, the Renault 5 has gone into third place. The German domination remains at the top of the table. However, the Renault is going to displace the Cadillac CTS-V. Cadillac, much nicer to drive. Likewise, the Eclipse, the NSX, Type R, 911, all nicer to drive than the Renault. But much like the Mercedes didn't feel particularly nice to drive, but was quick, the Renault really, really didn't feel nice to drive at all. But there was still speed there in the car. Just about when you're not falling off the track. That, though, is going to be it for this video and for this utterly bonkers car. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.